Okay, so I've been using this for the last few days, putting it through its paces, really putting it through the ringer to see if this is worth it here for 2025. One of the more highly anticipated laptops here for the year. Of course, I'm talking about the Lenovo Yoga Pro 9i Gen 10 Aura Edition. Yeah, it's a lot to say, but there's a lot here to talk about. The star of the show, without a doubt, is its beautiful 16-inch tandem OLED display. 1,000 nits of standard dynamic range in terms of screen brightness, can peak as high as 1,600 nits in terms of HDR. So that is pretty phenomenal. I measured 966 for the standard dynamic range and very close, if not at the 1,600 level for the HDR. So what does that mean? It means you're gonna get the brightest display out there. There's no competition for this. It's using the Tandem OLED technology, which has some advantages over a standard OLED. They're using 2 layers of OLED displays here. It will give you more efficiency, and I'm seeing that in some battery tests, although it does vary depending on what you're doing. So I was pleasantly surprised on one battery test we'll talk about in this review. And it also gets you really bright displays as what we're seeing here today. It doesn't have some of the downsides of OLED, standard OLED that we'll talk about, but overall this has been pretty phenomenal in terms of the display. Now, what else does this have? It's got a premium all-metal build. It's got a really nice keyboard. It's got a full-size numeric keypad for those number crunchers, although it does move off the touchpad off center because of that. So, 50-50 in terms of people wanting that or not wanting that. So that's where that stands. The glass touchpad is not haptic, but it's a nicely sized one. It's pretty big actually, and it's good for scrolling, doing all your gestures. This display, by the way, is a multi-touch display. That's also been very good. Ports-wise, excellent port selection here. HDMI, Thunderbolt, 4 ports. I'd like to see Thunderbolt 5. You get 2 USB-A ports, a full-size SD card reader, although the cards stick out about 3/4 of the way when inserted. So just keep that in mind, but love having a full-size SD card reader on a Creator laptop like this. So Arrow Lake H Core Ultra 9, and we're also looking at the RTX 5060 model, although there is a 5070 model that I couldn't get my hands on. I purchased this one from Best Buy, over $2,000, but of course I anticipate these still going on sale at some point. But for those that are interested, check out the links in the description below. And now, this is not a reviewed unit. I purchased this with my own money because I wanted to see for my own eyes, with my own money, what this Tandem OLED 1,000 nits, 1,600 nits peak brightness display is all about. We're gonna get into it and more in this review. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is the Lenovo Yoga Pro 9i Gen 10 Aura Edition with the Tandem OLED display coming up. All right, build-wise, it's a pretty nice build here. It's all metal, very little give or flex in the chassis. It's got very, very good overall aesthetics here. It's nothing flashy. It's pretty solid. It won't stand out, and it'll be perfectly fine in any boardroom meeting. So if you're not looking for flash, this is definitely one to look at. The design is tried and true. It's the Yoga design, and it's actually pretty good. It's not the lightest thing out there, but it's also not the heaviest. It's sort of in between. Definitely portable enough to take with you on the go. And of course, it does come with a 170 watt power supply. That adds a little bit of weight to it, but there has been some criticism. Does that give enough power to this? I didn't really run into any issues of that being the case where not enough juice is being supplied, so we get battery drain. But again, I haven't run into that yet, but if I do, I will let you know. Now, as far as the keyboard, it's got excellent key travel. And as I mentioned earlier, it has a full-size numeric keypad that's properly laid out. So typing out documents, emails, doing your spreadsheets has been working out really well on this. It's got a multi-stage backlight that worked well. A beautifully sized touchpad. It's pretty large. Scrolling, doing all the gestures worked well. That's been really good. Let's talk ports here. Like I said, we have a proprietary power port on the left. You get HDMI, 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, and a headphone jack on the left side. On the right side, 2 USB-A ports, your power button, and a kill switch for the webcam, and a full-size SD card reader. And as I mentioned earlier, the cards do not sit flush. They sit out about 3/4 of the way, just so you know. So maybe when you're not using it, pull it out. You don't want it to break off on anything. Now, that being said, good port selection, and One thing I would like to see is those two Thunderbolt 4 ports, one on each side, split up, but that's just a little small nitpick. Overall, a really good port selection here. It's got a really nice camera. It's IR. That means you can log in with face recognition with Windows Hello. I didn't see a fingerprint scanner on this, but you can log in with that face recognition. I thought the quality of the camera was very good. You have all the studio effects, all that stuff, background blur, studio effects are there. Now, sound of the microphones I thought were really good. And of course, you let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's give it a look and a listen. All right, so this is a 5 megapixel infrared camera. That means you can log in with face recognition with Windows Hello. It also has a time of flight sensor. It also has a shutter switch located on the right side of the unit, a kill switch for more security and privacy. What do you think about the video quality? What do you think about the audio quality? Now, it does have the studio effects here, auto framing, eye contact, background effects, standard blur, portrait blur. What do you think about it? Let me know. And most importantly, perhaps, what do you think about the audio in terms of the array mics? Let me know. Now let's talk about the star of the show. And without a doubt, it, of course, is the 16-inch 3.2K Tandem OLED display. That's 3200 by 2000 in terms of that resolution. That is a 16:10 aspect ratio. And it also has 120 hertz when it comes to the refresh rate. So it really is a stunning display using the new Tandem OLED technology, which combines a couple of layers of OLED displays for more efficiency, higher brightness, and just overall goodness when it comes to your viewing experience. That has been the case with this. This is the best display I've seen probably to date. I have no doubt about it. It is really that good. Now, of course, you still have to deal with things like PWM and screen burn-in, but it won't be quite as prominent as on a standard OLED. So they've made some improvements in there, although not totally eliminating that. But you are getting better efficiency, and you are getting one of the best viewing experiences when watching Netflix, Amazon, YouTube, and HDR, because it can peak as bright as 1600 nits. Now, one of the benefits of having such a bright display is the ability to use it outdoors. Now, I'm in Las Vegas. Obviously, this is the summertime. It's very hot, and it's 100 degrees, very sunny outside, right? So I'm definitely able to read this in direct sunlight, although I am in a little bit of shade, but even in direct sunlight, because it gets so bright, you definitely can get readable text on it and be able to use this display. Very practical. Now, of course, with HDR, it can peak up to 1600 nits in terms of that peak brightness, so making it even better when watching movies, Netflix, Amazon, YouTube. But having the ability to have such a bright display with this Tandem OLED display is a game changer in a lot of ways. Now, to get inside the Yoga Pro 9i, it's actually pretty easy. Just remove the 8 T5 Torx screws. Use a guitar pick or pry tool to pry off the bottom cover, and you're in. That's pretty simple. Now, once inside, you'll notice the 84 watt-hour battery. We'll get into the battery life a little bit later in this review. And of course, you'll notice those two fans for cooling. We'll get into the thermal performance later on as well. As far as what's upgradable here, you have an M.2 2242 SSD. That, of course, is user serviceable. And as you can see from the reads and writes, it is certainly fast enough for what you need this laptop to do. There is a secondary SSD slot that supports a 2280. So that is a full-size SSD. And of course, great storage options here on this unit, so good to see that. Now, as far as the memory, you can go up to 64 gigabytes of LPDDR5X RAM running at 8400 megatransfers per second, so it's very fast RAM running in dual channel mode, not upgradable by the user like most laptops here in 2025. Now, this review unit has 32 gigabytes of memory, which is good for most people, although if you're going to do any AI work, I would recommend going up to 64 if you can, because it makes it more future-proof, and the more RAM, the better when it comes to AI stuff. So just keep that in mind. But most people will be perfectly fine with 32 gigabytes of memory. Now, as far as the Wi-Fi, it is Wi-Fi 7. It's a Bluetooth combo card that is soldered into the motherboard, not upgradable by the user. However, good news here is that both the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth are both working flawlessly. No issues with either one. All right, let's talk performance, and this is running the Intel Core Ultra 9 285H, aka Arrow Lake H. And I would say with the overall performance, single multi-core has been excellent. So if you're going to do your everyday tasks like Microsoft Office, email, web browsing, all worked well. Good single core as far as that is concerned. Multi-core, when you're doing things that require those multi-threads and all that, it did really well. So the synthetic benchmarks here certainly passed with flying colors, and it did very well. Now, of course, it has the RTX 5060 GPU, and it does have 100 watts fed to it. So it's actually better than the 5070, which had only 65 watts fed to it from Dell on that Dell 16 Premium I looked at. So this is actually better, and you're going to get better graphics performance. It also has the integrated Intel Arc 140T, which is also very good in its own right. But when you need that extra horsepower, it does have that RTX 5060. There is a model that you can go with in terms of the 5070, although I could not find one available, at least not yet. So that is the case in terms of the graphics. When I ran the Puget Bench DaVinci Resolve benchmark to do some video editing, it got a really nice score, so it did well in that regard. So if you want to do content creation with this certainly is a nice CPU-GPU combination. Now, when it comes to the gaming, of course, 5060 with 100 watts here is definitely capable. You'll have to play with some of the settings, and you'll get some playable frame rates on some of the more popular titles. Of course, you can add an external GPU. One of the Thunderbolt 4 ports can handle that. And, of course, it just depends on what settings you're playing on to get the best possible experience. Having the 120 hertz, of course, also helps in that gaming experience as well. Now, this does support DLSS, so that means you can get some extra frame rates based on that, depending if the title supports it. That's just something you have to keep in mind. But overall, good graphics performance here on the RTX 5060 on the model that I have. Now, when it comes to the thermals, I never saw it get overly hot in terms of the surface temperatures when I put it under heavy load. And good news, when I ran the TimeSpy stress test, it got a passing score, meaning it detected virtually no throttling under load. And the fan noise wasn't bad, although when you're under heavy load, you'll definitely notice it. Of course, that is not overly loud, but definitely something to notice. But when you're in the balance mode doing everyday tasks, the fans were not much of an issue, staying relatively quiet throughout. So cool and quiet has been the name of the game with this laptop. All right, let's talk battery life. And this has an 84 watt hour battery. And I thought for sure with a 1000 nit standard dynamic range display can peak as high as 1600 nits when watching HDR. There's no way this is going to be more than a couple of hours with battery life. But I was a little bit surprised when I got 12 hours and 17 minutes on the video playback at 20% screen brightness, so around 200 nits or so. And I put it in the balance mode. So pretty decent performance there in terms of that number. So 12 hours, 17 minutes. Now, I wanted to see full brightness, so 1000 nits standard dynamic range. I ran that same video playback test from PC Mark 10, and it got a little bit over 5 hours or so, maybe 5.5 hours. So that actually is not as bad as I thought it would be. I thought maybe a couple hours at best, but of course this far exceeded my expectations as far as that is concerned. So a nice, pleasant surprise. But when I ran the PC Mark 10 Modern Office test, I got around 5 hours or so in mixed use. So it just depends really on what you're doing on this laptop. And of course, everybody's use case is a little bit different, so your mileage may vary. Now, they do supply you with that 170 watt power adapter. It charges via the proprietary port, obviously very familiar with Lenovo when it comes to these type of laptops. And I didn't find it any battery drain or anything like that yet. I'm going to still do some more testing, but when I put it under load, it seemed like it supplied enough juice, but I have to do more testing on that. But it charges pretty quickly as well. So overall, pretty decent, and a couple of surprises there with the battery life all said and done. Now, when it comes to the audio, we're looking at 6 speakers here, 2 tweeters, 4 woofers. Really powerful stuff here. I thought it sounded excellent when I did my unboxing video. I gave you a sample. We're going to give you a sample here again. I think it's overall an excellent laptop. I don't think it's a MacBook Pro 16 level, although it's getting there. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Now, let's give it a listen. Okay, so we're booting off of a drive here for Linux. I'm using Ubuntu. It's an older version. I do need to update that. I do admit that. But let's see what's working. So far, the touchpad is working. The keyboard should be working. The touchscreen we'll test in a moment. Let me see if the brightness goes all the way up. Yeah, the brightness works here. Wow. It's probably blowing out the camera here, so let me lower it down. Again, this is a 1000 nit display in terms of standard dynamic range, which is pretty freaking amazing. All right, so let this prepare Ubuntu. Let me get it set up. Let me connect to the network, and we'll be right back. Okay, so I just booted up here. The touchscreen does not work. That is not working so far. The touchpad, keyboard is working. The volume seems to be working. But let's go to a website here. Let's go to my website, and let's see if the volume is going to be working this time around. It seems to be working as far as the keyboard is concerned. So scrolling works. Everything works, obviously. Let me go to this video here. Let's see if this is working. It is working, but it's a very low volume, so I'm probably going to have to go to the settings and see what's going on with that. So sort of working. Let's go to the camera here. Let's see if that's working. And the camera is working. Well, let's see. Is it working? Do I have the shutter on? I do. So the shutter is now off and the camera is working. Yes. So the only thing that I couldn't get to work, yeah, it's not very loud. So I think there needs to be drivers to be updated on this, but it seems to be working as far as the sound. So overall, Linux on Ubuntu should work on this. Again, touchscreen not working, but everything else seems to be working more or less. So that's where we are with Linux on this unit. So overall, what do I think about the Yoga Pro 9i here for 2025 Aura Edition? Love this display. This is the best display I've ever seen. I think it's probably the best display. It is a glossy display, so just keep that in mind. But because it gets so bright, it's not much of an issue. 1000 nits, close to the 1000, and 1600 nits in terms of peak brightness. So indoor, as I'm here, outdoor, this is perfectly readable in this very bright sunlight here in Las Vegas. So this is the best test you can do for direct sunlight as far as I'm concerned. And this passed with flying colors. That's how bright this is. Would I have liked a matte display? Yeah, I think so. But, you know, beggars can't be choosers. The fact they're going with such a high quality tandem OLED display, I really have no faults here with that, right? So that's been pretty good. Performance-wise, really good as far as the CPU, a single multi-core, that's worked out fine for your everyday tasks. As far as the video editing and graphics work with that RTX 5060 on this one, although they do make a 5070 version, that worked out okay. Again, it's not going to be groundbreaking for AAA titles. So I think this is a real winner here as far as 2025, especially if you want a tandem OLED display. We're going to start seeing more of them, but this is the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme of displays for 2025. But you let me know what you think in the comments section below. So please hit the like button, please subscribe, please share this video. Now, if you're a casual viewer of my content, why not hit that subscribe button? It doesn't cost you anything, and it certainly helps support the channel as we're making our big push for 300,000 towards the end of the year. We're trying to get there. We already met our goal for the year of 250. Now I've moved the goalpost to 300,000 subscribers, which is truly amazing. Now, if you're going to buy something like the Yoga Pro 9i, check out the links in the description below. They will have the latest pricing. Yes, they are affiliate links. No, not a huge commission, a small commission that helps go support the channel, helps keep the lights on in the studio. Although, as you can see, I'm here in my backyard by my pool, enjoying this beautiful day, or hot day, I should say, here in Las Vegas. So until next time, this is Andrew, and I'll see you in the next video.